Hi, I'm Ian and welcome to Executive Grooves. My guest today is Heather Hannaby, who runs an audio visual business. So for those of you who've been to some of the big concerts, the Coldplays or Take That's or Oasis, and you've seen all those big screens on stage, those big LED screens, that is her business. And of course she does smaller business as well. So without further ado, let's hear from Heather. Good morning, Heather, and welcome to Executive Grooves.
Thank you very much for having me.
So let's start off. Tell me a little bit about who you are, what your business is.
So my business is audiovisual. So we specialise in outdoor LED screens, perfect for sports events or for outdoor cinemas. We also do a number of corporate events throughout the year, indoor staging, lighting, PA, gala balls, charity events. Yeah, that's pretty much what we do.
So let's take you right back, right back to when you were a teenager.
Yes.
What sort of music did you listen to?
I absolutely fell in love with rock music. You probably won't think so looking up, but rock music was my thing.
Any particular bands or?
So Bon Jovi, of course, Slippery When Wet, when that album came out, I just kind of completely stopped listening to Frost and Curiosity Killed the Cat and all the other bands that my friends seemed to be listening to, and really just kind of went down that route. The first concert ticket I ever purchased was to go and watch Bon Jovi at the NEC when I was 15, and I was just so excited to go and see them. And I think for a first gig, that's pretty impressive. And my love of not just rock music but guitar-based music really started there. But I was very much into a lot of the rock bands of that era.
So that was the first gig. So tell me honestly then. So was it the music that attracted you or the singer?
Actually, it didn't end up being my first gig. A couple of weeks before, I was offered some tickets to go see another American rock band called Skid Row. So I went to the Apollo in Manchester, and I was absolutely blown away. The support act, the band called Vane, were actually on the stage when we arrived there because we got there a little bit late. Um, and we were on like row 15 from the front. And I will always remember walking in, the band on stage. Yes, I did have a thing for blokes with, long hair and but yeah.
Were any large video screens in evidence those days?
Oh my God, no. No, 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 no.
Interesting. So let's talk a little bit about business and your role as a leader. So did you always know you were going to run a business?
It's the one thing that I avoided like the plague. I never, ever wanted to have my own business, ever.
So you should say a lot of people start like that, but for some reason they do end up. So how did you end up?
So after a great career in 2018, I was made redundant. I knew it was happening. Let's be honest, events, marketing, when companies are struggling, and everybody is very well aware of the demise of Kodak. So for a couple of years, I knew that the writing was on the wall. Um, and the week I got made redundant, we also found out that my daughter, my youngest daughter Ellie, who the business is named after, had a rare genetic condition. So although I was on garden leave for 13 weeks and I started to look at jobs, it really was apparent that there was absolutely no way that I could go back into corporate life. So it was a case of, right, what do I do? And my husband, his background is AV. And for years I've been saying, why do you freelance for all these other companies? Why don't you, do this for yourself? So it seemed like the obvious thing to do, for me to support him in terms of marketing and networking and use my contacts and my expertise. Um, and that's how we set the business up. It wasn't, I don't think it was what either of us had ever intended. He's always liked the flexibility of being freelance, but it just seemed to be the only realistic thing we could do, which gives us the opportunity to work around Eleanor every single day.
So a lot of people listening to this will be employees in corporate life or employees somewhere, and they may be thinking about that journey into running your own business. So how did you find it? Was it difficult?
I really struggled, I'll be honest. It took me months, years to really get my head around the fact that I was running my own business because I don't, I liked the comfort of the regular salary. There's a lot of things that you take for granted, I suppose. Um, and I really, really struggled. I think when you work for a big corporate, you pick up the phone and say, "Hi, it's Heather here from, company XYZ." And the person on the end of the phone is really happy to speak to you. You pick up the phone and go, "Hi, it's Heather from Ellievision AV. Sent me an inquiry last week." Sorry, it's who? It's Heather from where? From Ellievision AV. You emailed last, you sent an inquiry through. Did I? Oh, okay. Which company are you again? And you just really have to get over that. And you know, I'm at that point. I am completely over that now. I know that when I pick up the phone and call people, 95% of the time, unless it's a regular customer, they are like, sorry, who? Who? What do you want?
That must have been quite difficult in terms of establishing a presence so that everybody knows you. How did you go about that?
Do you know what? I fell into networking and, we've got the website, we've got, the social media, we've got, we do all the usual things that an SME would be expected to do. But I've found that you know networking for me really helped in and around sort of Milton Keynes, beds, hearts, books. I'm doing a lot of networking at the moment over in Northamptonshire, which is how we met. And I think that that for me really helps because we do get a lot of business through referrals and recommendations. We do get a lot of business through a lot of repeat business. It's very, very rare, I have to say, that I lose a customer. Very rare. Um, but the other thing I've learned to do is just put on my big girl pants and literally go to expos, go to, this year we exhibited at the meeting show, completely new thing for me to do, a big expense, but, I've realised that I have to go where my customers are, and where are my customers? So many hotels at the meeting show, so I need to be there. I need to be exhibiting. There's event bookers there. There's, you know, somebody said to me, swim where the big fish swim. So it's like, do you know what? Okay.
So it's basically getting out there, pressing the flesh, getting known.
But actually, what I like to do is phone people up. I am a little bit old school. I really do talk to people. Um, if I get an inquiry, if there's a phone number, the first thing I'll do is phone them. Some people don't like that. Some people would much rather I have a customer that just likes to WhatsApp me. I've got another customer that sends everything on Messenger. I try and work with whatever suits the customer. Um,
But it is all about you, isn't it? And it's all about being known.
it is all about being known.
When you go networking, one of the things quite a lot of people forget is you're not selling to the people in the room. Yeah. They're going to sell on your behalf if you form a relationship with them and get on with them. And you can do that through networking and social events.
Yes. Totally. And you know, our business, again, never wanted to set up a business, but now I have got my business. I don't want to take over the world either. I want a business that's going to, sustain us as a family, but I'm not looking to build an empire. because the reason that we set the business up was to work as a family. And I think a lot of people that set up on their own, you know, they just burn out because you are trying to do everything. And there's a lot of things I don't do, and there's a lot of things that I do badly, like social media. But I'm really trying now to put myself out there even more, because I find that for me that's the best return on investment.
So one of the things that strikes me listening to what you say is you've picked a business sector where you don't do all the work. You're actually running the business. You're on the business rather than in it, as they say. So that's curious. You are actually just running a business that you're not the key person in. That's quite different to a lot of small business owners. How does that feel?
Um, it's interesting you picked up on that. Hadn't really thought about it, to be honest. I mean, I just, you know, I love the logistics. I love the plate spinning. I love what I do in the background. But, you know, I have a wonderful team of technicians that go out and actually make the magic happen at the events. I believe everybody should really play to their strengths. And my strength is not building an LED wall. It's not, you know, sound or vision. You know, I bring in the right people for the jobs, depending on what the client's like.
So you're effectively external to the working part of the business.
Yeah.
You're looking at the revenue, costs, the next project, where the next project.
Yeah.
So that must be quite interesting.
It is. It is interesting. And I very much enjoy it. I really do.
Let me explore another area. So you're working in an area that most people, I say most people, a lot of people might think is a male-dominated industry. Is it?
Yes.
So how do you find that?
Um, I quite enjoy the fact that I have a lot of female customers because they want to work with women in this industry. If I look at all my local competitors, every single company is run by men. I can't think of one that's run by a woman. Um, and interestingly, I really do get people that come to me that are doing, you know, women's awards, and they want to work with a woman, and they like the fact that it's a no jargon approach. I always think, whenever I take my car to the garage, you go in and you wait for them to go, it's going to cost you. And, or, you know, you go in thinking there's one thing wrong, but by the time you've finished, you've got a bill a mile long. And I think people fear that sometimes with AV. I was talking to a lady yesterday, and she said, "Oh, I want projection." And I was like, "Tell me about your audience." She was saying, "Oh, my audience, they're quite bougie." I was like, "Oh, my daughter uses that word, my teenage daughter."
What is bougie?
It's kind of like posh, but yeah, it's yeah. I'd look it up. I can't really, but when she was describing her clients and the people that were attending her event, and she's going, "Oh, I want projection," and I was going, "You don't want projection. That's not what you want. I'm going to come up with some ideas, and I'm going to send you some photos, because once we'd spoken at length about what she was trying to achieve and her audience, the fact she'd only got a 5-hour setup, you know, she'd originally come up with this idea of this 12-meter set, and I was like, we can't do 5 hours because you need rehearsal time and you need some wiggle room. And somebody just given her a picture, and she'd kind of gone, "Oh yeah, that looks good." And it's like, no, I'm not going to send an army of technicians to try and create this vision of yours, because it's going to blow your budget. And actually, it's not going to, I don't think personally, it's going to hit the spot that you're looking for. So leave it with me, and I'll come back with some other ideas.
So everything you said is nothing really to do with gender. It's about trust. It's about trust between a customer and supplier. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Always trust your gut instinct. Always. Because my spidey senses are very, very good. And occasionally, when I don't go with my gut instinct, at the end of the day, I go, no, you should have stuck with it. You know, people on occasion can talk me round, but no, I should always just stick with my gut instinct. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
So does that change over time? Because I meet a lot of young people who like to trust their gut instinct.
I think when I was younger, I always went with my gut. And as I've got older, I've probably listened more to other people and been influenced. And actually, I should have just stuck to my guns. Really should, yeah. If something feels off, it feels off for a reason.
So you're influenced by others, but you trust. Because being influenced by others is a sign to me of confidence. You're prepared to ask other people's opinion.
Always.
I'll make the final decision based on everything I've seen and heard, and ultimately, gut instinct.
Gut instinct. And I've always been one of those individuals that goes with my head over my heart. I will sit down and make a list of pros and cons if I have to. I really try and, especially with when you're running a business, I really do try and look at the detail. And if something fits, I've come across occasionally you get a customer and you'll be talking to them and you just, I've learned to say no. And that's a hard lesson for me.
So let me ask you one more thing about the role of music for you as a person. How do you use music to inspire, to relax, to stimulate? Nowadays, not when you were a teenager. We've talked about when you were a teenager.
Do you know what? I have music on all the time. All the time. The radio is always on. I love to have music on in the background. If the house is quiet, it doesn't sit right with me. I'd rather, I've got a record player again. I've got the vinyl. I've even got all my dad's old records out the loft.
So what is the importance of music? You got it on, it's in the background.
It just lifts your mood. It really lifts your mood. There's a song for everything, I feel. And I just love listening to music all the time. If I'm down the greenhouse, potting up, I still take the radio with me. I can't sing, but I do sing to the plants because nobody else can hear me.
So do you sing when you're driving in the car?
Yes, it's certain songs. But I still love, like right now, I love listening to new music. So again, it's still very guitar based, but Nothing But Thieves, they are incredible. And yeah, it's if their song Amsterdam comes on the radio, yes, I am singing along. But I still love to listen to new music, bands that I've been listening to for years. Pulp, they're still bringing out new music. James, Blur, Johnny Marr's got a new album coming out. So it's really, for me, really refreshing because I'm not having to keep listening to songs from years ago because there's the bands that I love are still bringing out. Yeah.
Really? Very interesting. Heather, thank you for being a guest on Executive Grooves. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you for inviting me. I very much enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, I found that really interesting. I hope you did too. And a big thank you to Heather for being honest and candid in her responses. And for those of you listening and watching out there, a great example of somebody who never set out to run their own business. In fact, they'd had a previous bad experience with their father who ran a business which failed. and then found themselves in the position where they needed to and wanted to run their own business, and now a very successful business in the Milton Keynes, South Midlands area. So thank you to Heather. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, if you have any suggestions for other business leaders that I can interview to find out more about what they do and their interest in music, just drop me a line and I'll take care of the rest. Thank you.